do you think of this picture? At first look, this picture seems to show a garden covered in green pastures, showcasing nature's beauty. When in fact, this is a river in the Philippines, completely choked up and covered in water hyacinth, one of the most destructive invasive species in the Philippines. However, not only plants can be an invasive species and the waters the environment affected. Invasive species can be animals as well and can disrupt environments like the fauna. Until now, we know very little of what invasive species are, what are the other environmental factors, as well as biogeochemical cycles that are correlated, as well as the significant impact of human companionship, specifically the anthropogenic effects. For this reason, this video presented by our group will provide enlightenment. But before we delve deep into the specifics, what is invasive species?
Invasive species do not necessarily have to be from another country in order to be labeled as such. They can be in the form of plants, insects, fungi, bacteria, or any other living organism that causes immediate harm to an ecosystem. They usually disrupt the natural and ecological processes within the area they invaded, and in addition to that, they have the capability to outcompete the native species in terms of food management and habitat sustainability. These mentioned species can be compared to what we consider as pests in the household, in which they exhibit the same roles in the ecosystem, characterized by having fast reproduction, aggressive spread, and extreme harm. Other than the food competition mentioned earlier, the predatory dangers associated with the invasive species belong to the direct threats that they possess. For the indirect ones that are more subtle, only to reach a larger scale when left unchecked, are the changes in soil chemistry and the intensifying features they have on the occurrences of wildfires and such.
Hi, I am Gonzales. To clarify what fauna is, as what mentioned earlier in this video, fauna is all the animal life present in a particular place or at a particular time period. Fauna can refer to a prehistoric collection of animals, as might be inferred from the fossil record, or to a modern accumulation of species living in a region. And with that, let's now talk about how invasive species affects a fauna. We know that invasive species bring a negative impact to the new environment in which it was migrated. And through that, it causes the fauna species an ecological damage because they were being outcompeted by the invasive species for the food, habitat, and other resources. The impact of those actions will trigger biodiversity loss, which throughout the time can translate to the extinction of fauna species in the environment. Moreover, invasive species, to an extent, can cause substantial changes to the storage, production, and cycling of carbon. For that, Ms. Mesa will further explain the carbon cycle and its correlation to the presence of invasive species in a fauna.
Carbon. Carbon is the foundation of all life on Earth. Carbon helps regulate Earth's temperature, makes all life possible, and is a key ingredient in the food that sustains us, as well as provides a major source of the energy to fuel our global economy. The carbon cycle describes the process in which the carbon atom continually travel from the atmosphere to the Earth, then back to the atmosphere. Since our planet and its atmosphere forms a closed environment, the amount of carbon in this system do not change. Meaning, when the carbon is located, whether in the atmosphere or on the Earth, is constantly in flux. On Earth, most of the carbon is stored in rocks and in sediments, while the rest is located in the atmosphere, in the ocean, and in living organisms. These are the reservoirs or sinks through which carbon cycles. The carbon cycle maintains a relatively steady concentration of carbon in the atmosphere, land, plants, and ocean. But when anything changes the amount of carbon in one reservoir, the effect ripples through the others. Since a fauna is a reservoir, invasive species can cause a ripple. Invasive species can alter carbon storage and dynamics by invading a fauna and displacing native species. Invasive species can really be a menace in an environment. However, does this unnatural environmental changes can only be attributed to invasive species? As what was said earlier, invasive species are most often introduced to an area because of human activities.
Human activities are the largest contributors to the global impact on environment for the past 50 years. As we go through the 21st century, humans have changed the world in unprecedented ways. Humans play a major role in the carbon cycle through activities such as burning of fossil fuel or land development leading to deforestation and habitat loss for animals. As a result, the amount of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is rapidly rising. It is already considerably greater than any time in the last 800 years. Moreover, human activities cause pollution on land, air, and water. According to the study, about 2.4 billion people do not have access to clean water sources, and about 147 million metric tons of air pollution has been recorded each year alone. However, if humans can cause such catastrophes, collective human effort can also cause a greater positive change. As humans, we should educate ourselves and prevent introducing any species to environment that they are not native to, even if it's just a small plant or just an insect. Human could also help through recycling and planting trees. With decrease of trash, decrease in pollution may occur, resulting to lessen the pollution on land, air, and water. Through planting trees, carbon dioxide and other harmful chemicals and pollutants will be lessened. We should practice being careful and sensitive when the environment is affected, especially that any human activity can possibly cause a significant impact to the environment, and it is proven scientifically as well in epigenetics.
To give more depth to what epigenetics is, it is the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequence. Embryonic and fetal environments may leave permanent marks on individuals and animals that influence important aspects of its future growth, developmental capacity, and health. Epigenetics is also attractive for animal breeding because it may help identifying part of the missing causality and missing heritability of complex traits and diseases. Moreover, epigenetics and epigenomics pose new opportunities in livestock and aquaculture for further knowledge of the biological processes and for management and genetic improvement.
In conclusion, our discussion has attempted to show the impact of the actions of humanity that can snowball into serious outcomes that may be positive or negative. While the common misconception is that our little actions may seem insignificant, but we must remember that these little things can add up. So we must realize that we have an impact whatever happens to the environment, and that we can do something collectively to determine a future ahead, a better future ahead, by educating ourselves. So hopefully this video gave you enough information to realize and understand our place in the grander scheme of